Individual bondholders have by close of day today to sign up to the debt exchange program or lose their investment. Government had earlier warned their investment will be worth nothing if they fail to sign up, even though the deal has been described as voluntary. The aim of the program is to make the nation's debt sustainable as a key component to securing an IMF bailout. But the bondholders say the deal is unfavorable and are vehemently opposed to it. Senor Hossi is the convener of the Coalition of Individual Bondholders. He spoke on the probe with MFA Apau last night.
Say no to DDE. Hashtag say no to DDE. Nothing will happen to you. There's a contract in place between you and the state. That is why they've brought you the document for you to accept. If they could do it on their own, the way they are throwing their hands and saying that your thing will be worthless, why did they come to you for you to agree? Think about it. Think about it. Our legal team is clear. They themselves are clear. The Attorney General is clear. Gabi Ochridakun, who is speaking and posting those things, he is clear. But you're on an agenda for what? In all these things, everybody is supporting the concept. Are we taking a haircut? We're all taking a haircut. You have increased taxes. Have you seen anybody go on demonstration? No. When we introduced VAT, what did they do? When Rollins introduced VAT, what did they do? Today, where is VAT? You've gone there, and nobody is complaining. We are cooperative citizens. Some of us voted this party into office because we believed in their attitudes and the culture, only to find something different. Nobody has a problem. You want to solve a problem, everybody understands you have a problem. But first of all, understand your problem. You've gone accruing a lot more debt. Your net borrowings from 2017 to now is over 170 billion. Question, what did you use the money for? Only 1/3 of that money went into capital expenditure. It is capital expenditure that's supposed to spur your growth. So that's supposed to drive productivity on your revenue, on your entire growth as an economy. What did you do with 2/3 of the money? Economic consumption. When you manage funds like that, why won't you be in trouble? And where is this consumption going? You look at the size of government. You add on about 300,000 people into the entire public sector workforce. Over this time, job for the boys. Our public sector has not been productive for a long time. What are we adding more people into for? When you do that, you move a lot more money in there, and there's less capital for private sector, which is the productive sector in this economy, to really thrive. That's why government, if you look at government share of GDP, it is growing. Because right now, there's only one big boy in the house. But that is not what an MPP government, a center-right government, a property-owning democracy is about. I don't recognize this party at all. At all. And I don't think that if they are honest with themselves, they will recognize their own party. And I think people should be adults in that room and bring wisdom and sanity to bear on the party. Because we are lost on totally lost on what this party is about. You think about a center-right government, you think about a lean government. That empowers its people. And that's what Kufuor was talking about. That's what Kufuor was talking about. He was talking about the productivity of the people. What do we have now? A very fat government, a very fat ministerial populace, a very fat presidential set of staffers. Doing what? Spending time tweeting and insulting citizens of the state.
Okay.
Please, let's get... But let's return to the bondholder story and find out what government can do if the expiration does come off today. Now, you know that the day for government to achieve this domestic debt exchange program to get people to sign on to that program is today. What happens if people do not sign on to that? What becomes of Ghana's IMF deal too? Richmond Kwame Frimpong is a financial literacy consultant, analyst, and he joins us live with more. Richmond, grateful that you could join us here. First of all, have you signed up for the domestic debt exchange program yourself, and why?
All right, thank you. No, I haven't signed up myself. I'm hoping that the government will take a second look at the term so that we can all agree on next steps.
Is it really the time for you, or it's the conditions associated to the whole program that is preventing you as a bondholder from signing?
Okay, so, I mean, let me even speak further away from myself and just say that, really, I think the government is not against individual bondholders. If you look at the objective of government, I am tempted to believe that probably it's actually in their interest to make sure that individual bondholders and any bondholder, is happy with whatever term they have. Why? Because if this is not handled in a certain way, government is going to really struggle in how they survive in terms of their revenues that are taken from the debt market. And so I think it's in their interest to make sure this goes well. Having said that, if you ask me, I would say I think it's a good feedback the individual bondholders, and not just them, any other grouping in the whole asset class has given to government to really take a second look at the terms, because it appears the terms are quite disruptive for people's incomes and their balance sheets, i.e. private or public, and it's something they have to take a second look at and see if there is another option outside of this universe that can help them achieve their goal of building a sustainable kind of debt program.
Okay. Now, today happens to be the expiration date for government's invitation to bondholders. What do you make of the situation from where you sit, now that bondholders say we will not sign on to this program?
It appears that would shoot down government's ability to meet the minimum requirement for the success of the exchange program. And so at this time, I'm probably predicting and I'm probably guessing that the government should now be taking another data analytics of the options they have. And at this moment, really, it will be really difficult to get a pass rate of about, I think, 80% or so, from whichever category, because then as long as there is a way out for some segment of the creditor-investor community, almost everybody will probably give an excuse why they cannot take it. So it's two things. The government should be exploring seriously, aggressively, the option with the G20 to do debt forgiveness. And then also at the same time, they should probably take a second look at the terms, maybe the duration, maybe the coupon exemptions or some other thing, and now begin a whole new reconstruction of engagement that can help them become successful, looking at the race for the time for end of February, end of March to get the board approval.
With your knowledge of the sector, where did the government get this whole thing wrong? That has resulted in individual bondholders even saying no to government's invitation.
I would not say wrong per se, but I think really this is a very difficult place to be if you are government. And inversely, it's true for individuals also, and then the creditor investors for the bond instrument. So government finds itself in a position where they are having little or no time to get approval so that the bailout can be successful. And if they don't get that, the whole economy is going to possibly be on its knees. And so that said, on the government part, they are really stricken with a lot of difficulty. Well, on the individual's part too, this year, and since COVID-19, 2019 all throughout now, it hasn't been easy. And so people who have really tried to put money aside into investment instruments have really done well with managing the failing and the reducing disposable income in the face of inflation and other macroeconomic indicators that are not doing so well to put something aside. And all of a sudden, particularly for the case of Ghana, coming all the way from the corrections we had to do in the financial services sector, where people already had been affected badly financially by the corrections that happened. And some are still recovering under that view to now have to face this also. It's also difficult for them to just look on and not do anything. So these are two difficult situations, and it requires very unconventional way so that in the middle, government can achieve its goal. Mind you, if government fails to achieve this goal, everything macroeconomics is going to fail, and it will make nonsense of the bonds, it will make nonsense of the investment wealth, and most importantly, it is going to shut down the entire financial ecosystem and where we have come from as a country to get people to appreciate investing over the years is going to be wiped off. So it's not in government's interest to not to be successful with this. And it's also not in the individual's interest not to help their nation recover. And so government will really have to pay attention to what else they can do. And it comes very, very easily, if possibly difficult politically, but it comes easily on the fiscal side for government to now really look at lean governance and maybe another option on the income side of the fiscal side of government to see what they can do, however difficult it may be. If this is not considered in all the approaches, looking at the multilateral conversations with the debt forgiveness, looking at managing the fiscal space and creating a more space with some austerities on the government side, and then having a thorough conversation through the entire financial ecosystem to make sure that we ring-fence the financial sector from collapsing through this effort, and to get everybody happy to now even think about putting money aside. People are worried. People are asking, so where else can we put money? We need to save all so that we will be able to safeguard the future of the country.
I mean, when we talk about, yes, the macroeconomy will suffer if government doesn't get this. But for people to understand, to really appreciate it, how will people feel it if government fails to get this program through in order to secure an IMF deal by the time they're expecting to?
Right, so let me give an example of how bad the macroeconomics will affect everyone. So pick an item like inflation. It's an offshoot of how deteriorating the economy is getting. And even now at 54, it means whatever you were even making already on your bond is shot in value 54%, even before not talking about losing your coupon. And so what other investment have you done? Is it a fixed deposit? Is it a treasury bill? Treasury bill is at 35, 91 days per annum. And so if you still have 54 against that, it's already negative. If this gets wet and it doubles into the 100, it means you have nothing. You are just holding cash that has no value. That is why it's important to safeguard the macro, because it eats up everything. It's just like culture, eating strategy for breakfast. The macroeconomics, if it's not stabilized, will eat every investment return for breakfast. And that is what we should be keen at doing. But I'm saying that responsibility rests not just on the investor-creditor community, but also on government.
There's been general demand for government to cut down expenditure as a sure way to better solving this challenge. What's your view to this call, and where should the cutting be focused?
So this is not going to be easy to do. It must be done with data and science. So, for example, the government should be able to now look at its budget at the moment, the 2023 budget, and most importantly, look at the expenditure side, the ones that are not statutory. So every form of expenditure, from emoluments to wherever, that the government can make do without and still be able to anchor the core and then begin to take them out, particularly if they are discretionary. And many people are pointing to the government machinery itself. I think it's a good call. The government should pay attention to it. If government is able to trim that, it's just going to be inconveniencing for 2 years. And I'm sure 2-3 years, we should be out of that gap and out of that sacrifice. If that is not done, and we look at the investor-creditor community, the consequence is going to be for 15 years. And so that is too much to pay. And so I think government should really look at the 2 years inconvenience that can safeguard almost everything. Give us our financial market. Give us that savings culture. Give us that stability. Give us that bailout and everything. So that when there is even a call to the investor community, institutional or individual, direct or indirect, to now shave off some levels of return to meet up with what the government is doing, it will be a very easy call to make, and it will speed up the process of salvaging the bailout and the economy.
So you also do support the call that the size of government must be reduced in order to help us out of this situation?
Why not? If there is data to prove that it can do something. If for nothing at all, even if it's for the antics, if it's just symbolic, it communicates to the investor community that, look, we are paying something for this. Can you also pay a little to complement what you are doing?
Interesting. So for you, and the way you understand issues about the economy, how fast must government act on this particular development, getting the bondholders to understand or trying to get us an alternative to then get the deal with the IMF? And is there any alternative at all if the individual bondholders decide to hold on to their stance of saying that we will not sign up to this program?
If the bondholders do not, I think by now government should be coming up with another plan and communicate it clearly. I suspect it may, if the individual bondholders also checking out, then it is difficult for the program to be successful, as the pensions industry has also done the same. So it's going to really be difficult, and it's important that within the time frame of between now and end of February, if there is anything to do, the government should put together some expedition and some detailing in terms of revising the term sheet and bringing some attention to how the individuals can now accept some sort of sacrifice, not in this current form. And maybe pay attention. If you look at the term sheet, there is a pointer to treasury bills that can hurt government even before it is active. And so many people are now not even comfortable buying treasury bills. That can also hurt government. So government should really look at this so that if for nothing at all, the fixed income market is ring-fenced, and for nothing at all can leverage on the collection that it is receiving from that market. And at the same time, use high-powered negotiation and conversation to leverage on the debt forgiveness kind of concept. IMF is very particular about Ghana, and the World Bank saved, and so we should use that trump card and see how we can get the Chinese government and the American government and the UK government to take a second look at some of the debt, so that we'll know what to do next.
Okay, grateful to you. Richmond Kwame Frimpong is a financial literacy analyst there.